Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, everyone, to Tier 2 Talk. I'm Retro, joined by Dweg as always. This time, joined by the ITB boys, Adam and CYPHER. How are you both feeling today, guys?
Pretty good, pretty
I
good.
want to go back to bed, to be honest.
Yes, welcome to be here then, Adam. I hear already. You're all ready for this one, already. All right. We always do this at the start of the episode, sort of ask questions that you guys, Twitch chat can also ask and so on. Basically, just get a feel for how you guys... or how you guys are, like what Counter-Strike is to you, you know, the basics, basically. So, obviously, if people are watching at home as well in Twitch, you can drop questions throughout there, and we can obviously ask those to the guys. But I guess we can start things off quite easily here with what's it like playing in Tier 2 Counter-Strike in such a competitive space? Because obviously, you know, a couple of years ago, maybe there weren't as many teams around, but now it just seems to be there's so many new faces, new teams, new everything. So what's it like playing in that space?
I don't know.
To be honest, it's hard because it's like you have so many different like countries and they all have like different styles and so many different teams with different styles. So it's like you're playing against so many different teams and there's always so much like preparation you kind of have to do. So many like lots of demo watching, and I think this year we've played some of the most maps I think of any team on HLTV. I think we're in like the top 6 or something like that for maps played. So we played a lot, and even though a lot of that was without practice as well, because we were playing with Smear and Thomas, and that just kind of added the stress on kind of going into games without practice. But yeah, it's hard, but honestly there's nothing else I'd rather do.
Okay. I'd probably ask you, CYPHER, then. What's the team environment been like since you made changes? Obviously, Adam just said, you're playing with Thomas and Smuya. You've only just made changes. What's it been like even in the first few weeks?
The first 3 weeks was pretty good. Like at the start, it was quite rough. Like in prac, playing against these good teams, it can get a little bit rough. But other than that, it was pretty good. Like just implementing shit. Drake can come in with Rusty, Swedish Euro. It's quite fun to play with, and yeah, they're just good guys,
Yeah, fair enough. I guess then, obviously we talked about it a little bit before. You guys haven't really had one, but now you're on a bit of a prior player break and whatnot. How is that? You guys, obviously you said beforehand you were doing a lot together and you didn't really have a player break. So what's the approach been like during the so-called player break? Obviously bringing in players and coming up to the major qualifiers as well. You guys definitely will be practicing. So what's that been like for you guys having, no break?
I was gonna say playing with Smear and Thomas, even though because we weren't practicing, but we were still playing officials. I kind of just treated that like it was a player break. We weren't anti-stratting a lot because we weren't a team. We were just playing with 2 standards, so we were kind of just playing. So the way I see it is that was a player break for me, and now I just want to grind.
Yeah, I'm
Hungry
the
for
same
it.
as well.
Yeah. Okay. Well then, thinking about getting ready for officials, you could start with you, CYPHER. What's the warm-up routine, inside and outside of the game before an official, and then we'll go to Adam after.
Honestly, it just depends on the day. I mean, before this new team, I was waking up like 10 minutes before. I'm not gonna lie. Like before a new team with like Thomas and Smear, we would wake up like an hour before, because Juve has his rule. It was like you have to wake up an hour before just so everyone's ready, So obviously, normally I'd wake up like 10 minutes before the hour. I wouldn't DM or anything, but I was just like, fuck it, just run into the official. But now, I'm DMing before, playing like pugs a night, night before everything. So it's probably I'd say a K aimbot, 200 DM, just until you're feeling it, and then that's about it, really.
Yeah,
Adam?
you as well, Adam.
Yeah, before an official, the day before, I usually just watch my opponents, kind of get a feel for how they like to play. Try and spot gaps that I can take advantage of, things like that. And then an hour and a half before the game or 2 hours, whatever, I just play some bots and some DM and just go into the game feeling fresh and feeling like I've already played against my opponent before, just because watch them.
Sure. I've got a bit of a question then in terms of that. You say, Adam, you've been, watching your opponents the night before and whatnot. So how does that work with you and Juve? Is that you both contribute to the anti-stratting or having a look at the opponent, or is it more you and Juve sort of in the moment trying to educate?
It's something that we have conversations about. So it's like, if for one like whatever reason I don't want to like anti-strat map, then I'll be like, you do this map, I'll do this map, and we'll just like split the responsibilities up that way. Or sometimes if it's like a really like big game and we have like a lot of time to prepare for it, then I just kind of want like to just focus like fully on anti-stratting. But like right now it's a good mixture, so we do both, and we mix and match.
One thing we ask a lot of the guests is, who's the best player you've played with and against in the tier 2 scene?
Or I'd say individually, best player I've played with is like Smear, obviously. It's like Radar, just obviously him and Draken, best players individually, and everything. Played against is, I don't actually know. Does Prac count?
Yeah,
Like-
Prac counts.
Obviously, Pracking against fucking Bit, we got 28-2'd by them. They're just fucking a joke how good they are. But other than that, it was an official. I'm not actually sure.
Oh,
I have to go. Wait, I'm gonna go check HLTV
yeah, I was
now.
gonna say, is there maybe like
Yeah.
any of the CIS sides in like
Yeah, let's see.
perform or?
Adam, do you want to answer while I like go check?
Best players I've ever played with has got to be Mesli and Rusty. I think they're both pretty on par. Like they're both really, really well rounded. They're both really smart. And like I'd say both to a certain extent. Like I think Alex said it before. Like Mesli's an IGL stream. I think it's kind of the same with Rusty as well. That's why it was like a no-brainer when I heard, he wasn't reselling a game agents, just get him in. Because I knew, like, when he is not an IGL, he has like an insane skill ceiling. And-
Oh god, sorry, Adam. I was gonna ask. Not out here has just asked. What about Smooya?
What about Smooya?
I
Yeah,
guess
but you have,
the best players
like,
to play with.
I guess, like I never, like, we didn't really practice with Smooya, so I can't like comment on that. Like we weren't a team, we were just like pugging, so it's like completely different to being in a team environment. But from speaking about being in a team environment, speaking to every day, pugging with officials, watching demos, whatever, then yeah, the Rusty and Messi definitely are the two standouts for me.
First.
Playing against as well. Xantar is by far like you just peeked
What,
the
recent
guy.
Xantaras?
It was around like I think it was around March we played him.
Okay, what, when he was still Eternal Fire Xantaras?
Yeah, and it was just a joke, man. The guy just did not miss. Like, literally, if you miss one bullet, you're dead. Just that sort of player. It's not fun.
Fair. What's the next step for you guys as a team? I guess obviously now having 2 new players and you can start practicing for the major and whatnot. What is the next step for you guys? Where do you see yourself maybe in 6 months to a year?
I guess I'm not too sure, to be honest. 6 months in a year is a long time away, and we have to see what happens in the next 3 months. More importantly, because we have like so many big tournaments coming up in the next 3 months, and I think that will kind of decide a lot where we go in the rankings and how far we progress, and to see if we can show our potential that I think we've already showed glimpses of it with only like a week's of practice. I think that's something that we just need to. We can't be thinking 6 to 8 a year. Like we need to be thinking about the next 3 months, because those are really, really important for us as a team.
I want to ask about the maps being played, because you mentioned it just before, Adam, that you guys have just been playing like a shit ton of maps all the time. Now, obviously, context is important, right? Like in a lot of those officials, it wasn't with prac and everything, so you maybe don't have those extra hours on top. But do you think if you were playing the same amount of maps and events come after the play break for the rest of the year, that you guys would struggle with that? Like, because some teams say, oh, we love grinding, like we'll play every event under the sun. But then there's also some teams that if you do stick them in 1 or 2 best of 3s every single day, they can just burn out. Like, what do you think you guys are in that sort of circumstance?
I think like before, like when we were playing so many maps with like experience on this, like it didn't bother me that much because we weren't practicing. But it's like if you add practice on top of playing like I don't know, like 120 maps in the past 3 months, for example, like a full-time prac, like 7 hours a day, 6 days a week or whatever, then yeah, that is gonna have like a detrimental effect kind of thing. Like you're gonna feel the fatigue, you're gonna feel burnt out, and you're gonna sometimes when you play that much, you feel like you're getting into like autopilot, And that's the worst in CS. Like, you don't want to be an autopilot, because when you do that, that's when you're predictable. That's when teams can watch your demos and be like, oh, every round he does this, you know? So I do think that, you know, in the next few months, like, we'll still be playing a lot of officials, but I doubt we will be playing something like 120 maps in the past 3 months, just because I think that's going to be like a ridiculous amount to combine with, you know, the amount we're going to practice. Because I think in the next month and a half, practice is going to be just as important as playing officials are.
Sure.
All right, Ryan. Should we finish up with iSeries? Because obviously you guys went to the
Yes.
last iSeries. Now it's a slightly different lineup, obviously. Are you planning on going to iSeries again to win it back to back? Because I know you've won the last few, Adam.
Yeah, I've won the past 3 in a row now. I don't know if we're going to the next one. If I had to guess, I'm leaning towards a no right now, because it's the same date as the RMR,
Okay.
and that's a big one. Like, the only reason I can think of going is to kind of keep the winning flow that we're on right now.
I think the only way we don't go right is the only way we go is if we qualify to the RMR already. Like these first three, I think if we qualify, then we will go. You know.
Yeah, and I like, it's kind of something that we're still talking about, like whether or not we're gonna go. But like right now, if I had to guess, then it's probably gonna be a no.
There's a chance for us then, Josh, is what I'm hearing. All right. I guess if there's anyone that wants to ask questions in the Twitch chat, we can sort of ask about it as we talk about you guys as well. Because topic 2 is about you guys this year. It's been an interesting one. I think there's a lot to talk about when it comes to you guys and sort of how things have been. We've already touched on it a little bit with you guys having not practiced for a little while. Obviously having Smoo in the roster with Thomas as well, and now we have a roster that you guys are very happy playing with, and we're back to an ITB that's fully functional in practice and things like that. So I guess we can delve in a little bit, Josh, as to the history and sort of how things have gone. We can start right at the start of this year, right, where I think it was a bit of an interesting time for you guys. January 7th, you bring in Juve and Punico, right? So you now have a manager and a coach. Can you talk to us a little bit about them and sort of the roles that they have within ITB?
Kai, you want to answer it? I feel like you haven't spoke recently.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously Pinnacle, it helps us a lot with invites, right? So like every single invite we had now is basically because of him and like past tournaments basically. So he's helped a lot with them, and Juve, he obviously helps with anti-stram before the games. He gives us a lot of like just help with matches and officials, and basically keeps me on the leash as well. So that's always good as well.
I don't know how much in detail you could probably go into this, Adam, but obviously towards the end of the year, you guys were sort of exploring other options. This obviously last year. So you were with ITB, there was a portion of time you weren't with ITB, and then you came back. Just tell me like about that time period. Like what was happening with the team around then?
I think we had like a lot of decent results, and like at the start, ITB were like wanting to offer us the same contract pretty much, like for another year, which like I can't obviously say too much about that, but yeah, like because our contracts were up, we were like, you know, we had a lot of good results, we might as well see what else is out there and what else is available. I think we had another like kind of decent offer, but in the end ITB ended up offering a better one again, so decided to stay, and we're happy we did.
Okay. One player that I think we spoke about on the last show, Ryan, was obviously Isk with his team with like Edward and that. He was the first player to sort of leave this year. And then Tadpole came in as a sub. So, because we didn't actually see Tadpole playing that much with you guys. So just tell me about like Isk moving away and Tadpole coming in at that time period.
Adam, that's all you, mate.
The Isk one is just, I guess, just, I don't know. I can't really talk about it about my blood boiling, I guess, still, even though it's been like a long time. But yeah, it was just kind of ruined the environment towards the end, and kind of guy you just told, do this, he did the opposite, do this, he did the opposite, don't do this, he did the opposite. And then when it came to, pretty much final warnings, didn't care. And then came to kicking him. That's when it was like, he was kind of like, no, don't worry, I'll change. And I was like, it's too late. Like, you've had like literal months of warnings. So it was like one of those where it had to happen. And it was another one of those where everyone in the team wanted it to happen, apart from, well, the only one who was kind of defending him was Kai.
Yeah.
No one else wanted to play with him. And I found it funny that Kai was the one defending him, considering he was the one who argued with him the most. So I found that pretty funny.
Hey, I don't like change. I do not like change.
So I guess that's probably a difficult period of time then, towards the earlier part of this year, and then obviously you've got the time period of Thomas and Smuya standing in. Now, obviously they were sort of standing in for quite a while. So was the original plans for them to be stand-ins to then maybe like bring him into the 5, or like what was the first discussions of bringing those two forward?
So it just started with Smuya, to be honest, because we needed to stand in for ISK. And I just asked him if he wanted to kind of, stand in for us, play some tournaments with us, because we needed an AWPer and there was no one we could get really. And he was like, sure. And I was like, fair enough. And I knew it would be good for the org as well. Like, that was a big part of my reason. Play with him, because if he comes in, then obviously he's gonna like help the org out a lot. They're gonna get a lot of exposure, and it's good for everyone. And Thomas was more of a like Tapol's playing really bad, and not just like playing bad doesn't concern me as much as like he just lost his love for the game, and you could hear it in his voice each day. You could hear he didn't really like want to play, or he didn't really care about the game that much, and he knew that himself. So it was a case of that with Tapol, and then Smuya wanted to play with Thomas, so it just felt like a no-brainer to just use those two as stand-ins while we looked and searched for new players.
I think we could definitely say that, Ryan, with Thomas and Smuya coming in, there was a lot more HLTV events probably from that point onwards to where we are today. So tell me, like, just I guess about the shift, right? Is this the first time in maybe either of your careers that you're playing a lot of HLTV events without Prac?
Yeah, mine for sure. I don't know about Adam's, but this is my first time being on HLTV consecutively, like day in and day out.
Playing without Prac, I think so, but I can't say I was surprised, like going into it. Like, I mean, the only thing like I felt like I didn't have anything to call, which always sucks if you're in IGL. It's like, we're playing T-side and they're like, what do I call? Like, what do I actually call? So that part was rough, but at the end of the day, I knew what I was getting myself into, so no complaints from me.
I'll probably ask about the time window now, Ryan, because that was about April time, and now we're obviously sort of in August. Were you guys expecting to have two players standing in for 4 months, or was it just, okay, they might be here for a few weeks and then we'll find someone else? Like, what was... Because most teams don't normally have stand-ins for that long.
No, I definitely expected it to like end sooner than it did, but I think we were kind of at the point where it was like we couldn't really find anyone suitable, and then we were playing with them, and then don't get me wrong, we had some bad results, but we also had some good results, like the Skada one in particular went qualified for Republic League, and then a bad one being when we lost our challenger spot to Sangal, which was the Tiller. But it's not like we were doing absolutely dreadful, like we weren't playing great either, but it was kind of that way. It was like I didn't want to rush into finding a fourth and fifth. I didn't want to rush that because I knew like those two players would be kind of very key and decisive for who and how good we were going to be as a team. And honestly, I'm glad we waited because I couldn't think of anyone better to get than Rusty and Draken.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm going to talk about the pickups a little bit then, Josh, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
And obviously, July 23rd was the official signing of Rusty and Draken. Obviously, Adam, you've mentioned you've been, you've been around a little longer than Kai in terms of your time at Gamer Legion. Kai, obviously, as you said, this is your sort of first time consecutively playing with, with a team that's on HLTV so often. What's it like playing with the experience of Rusty and Draken?
It's good. Like with Adam, it was mostly Adam and Huve is like the people I learned from, right? before it was just them two. So and now it's like Drake and Rusty. Like playing Inferno with them. I'm playing like Overpass with Rusty, like because I play sites with Rusty mostly, and so he would just teach me things as like just little things, but they will help so much. Just like key piece of information that normally I would just miss, but he would point it out and it would just help. So it's like the experience of him is just insane.
All right. I'd probably say, did you trial many other players, or was it a no-brainer? Because obviously you mentioned once he wasn't signing with Gamer Legion. I mean, that's probably pretty tasty to hear, Adam. Thinking you can snap him up. But was there any other options, or was it pretty firm on these two?
No, we had a few options actually. I think we tried the one opera we tried was Wolfie, who I think has gone to another team now. And riflers that we were speaking to a few, to be honest. I think the main standout one that we spoke to that was like semi-interested but not really was Zen, so it was nice to beat him.
Yeah, he got smoked at the end.
Yeah, it was nice to beat him. I kept looking over when we were making the comeback on Overpass just to see him get progressively more tilt, so I was like, yeah, no firepower, that's right, yeah.
And maybe dive into the IGLing situation, because I think a lot of people, when they saw the announcement, the first thing they said is, geez, there's 2 IGLs in this team. So is it the idea that you're going to be the main caller, Adam, and then Rusty's going to secondary, or are you going to give up responsibilities? What's that going to be like?
Oh yeah, no, I'm like calling like permanently. There was one on Mirage because like the roles were a bit on T side were a bit weird, and it was like we didn't have a guy to go towards A on T side. So when we started cracking, I was like, Rusty, I was like, what do you want to do? And he was like, I want to like be towards the pack in mid. So it meant like on that map I went towards A, and then I was calling from from A, which was like virtually impossible. So in the end we were like, Rusty, try a game like calling, and he tried calling on Mirage, and then it was like we just swapped it around again. So I'm back to like pretty much calling and everything now. So we tried that over a bit, but I think Rusty's just so much more like better when he's just focusing on himself, and I think the numbers he's putting up and will put up in the future, and has put up in the past when he's not been IGLing, like it goes to show that he can be a star player when he's not calling.
You played with Rusty before, if I'm not mistaken, right, Adam? In Gamer Legion. So,
I did, yeah.
So what was Marco's asked in the chat as well, and I think it's a really good point. MMS has asked, what would you say the difference is this time around with Rusty compared to last time when you played with him in Gamer Legion?
I think his attitude has improved a lot. I think back in Gamer Legion, like myself as well, and I think this is something that like I always, like every game and stuff like now I always try and focus on his attitude, because it's like you have to really want to win to be able to win. Like you have to always keep a good mindset, no matter if you lose the worst rounds possible, or a bad map, or if you lose like a game where you're like 15-8 up and go into overtime. Like you have to have like the best mindset possible. And I think like in Game Legion, like I didn't have that mindset at all. Like I had a really bad mindset, and like I wasn't enjoying like the game that much. And I think the same with Rusty. Like his mindset was kind of similar to mine, where he would go a little bit quiet and like not care as much. But I think right now, like that's completely changed. I see a player that's hungry to win, the same as me and the same as everyone in the team right now. And I think that is so important.
Should we move on to the UK events, Ryan, this year?
Yeah, we can do a little bit, although not listed in the event section. I think it would be a good place to start, right? So we'll move across, and we can talk about the UK events a little bit more. Obviously, you guys are talking about I-Series and stuff as well. Dweg, where do you want to start exactly with this?
I mean, we can start with Prem, because Prem finished just before I-Series, didn't it? Now, I remember you guys had like Joel as a stand-in for one of the semi-final games, and then I can't remember in the final you had Thomas, didn't you? Joel was still there.
Thomas was standing in for us.
Team.
Thomas was going for endpoint,
Thomas was standing in for us in other tournaments, but he had like a gentleman's agreement to play EBS with endpoint. So he was standing in for us in other tournaments, so he knew like a lot of the shit we did, and he played against us in the finals, which was kind of funny.
Yeah, so maybe let's talk about Prem a little bit, because I think this was maybe the first season. Maybe not in a while, but I think the first season in which a lot of people actually had faith that Endpoint would finally like not make it through? Like, even though you guys still had stand-ins at this point, was there the belief that you were still going to qualify and win the event?
Yeah, of course. I think, like, normally we go into every tournament with belief. I think the only tournament that I've ever gone into with zero belief was Republic. And like I said
that's
that
kinda
I said that to
self-justified.
people like before, like close friends of mine. I was like, I'm not looking forward to this. Like, I was playing awful. We had no practice, and like it was the teams that we were gonna play. I was not looking forward to that at all. But normally, like EPS and stuff, I always go into it thinking we're gonna win it. Because like, why not? Like, there's only one team there that are there to like be beaten basically, and that's Endpoint. And I'm did he time out?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that's
Kai's
all right. We
next
can
here.
carry
It's
on
all right,
for a
we'll keep
sec.
going.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Hello?
I don't know what's going on.
Welcome back.
You're right, man. You're right. Hello.
Hello, hello.
Yeah.
Go on, keep
Okay.
going, Adam.
Well then.
Where were
Yeah.
we?
Carry on, Adam.
Where were we? Talking about EPS and
Yeah.
yeah. No, yeah. Like I said, I normally always go into like tournaments believing like that we're gonna win. And obviously that's not always the case, but like you still have to have that mentality because like everything you play to win, right? Like you don't play to lose games. So if you're gonna play, then you play to win and play to be competitive. And that's ultimately that's what I try to do and what we try to do. And honestly, I think next season we're gonna win it for sure. Like I'm not just saying that either just to have a winning mentality or whatever, but I'm feeling more confident than ever to win at EPS and throw an Endpoint.
I mean, would you say that you think your favourites next tournament? Because obviously, I think in the past, right, you probably couldn't claim yourself as favourites. But now knowing you're a full team, Endpoint have to use a stand-in. Does that like put the mindset in the team as we're actually favourites this time?
Oh, it depends. I don't know. I'm hearing rumors about Endpoint making a change, so I don't know.
Yeah, carry on,
guess-
Adam.
no leaks from me, but I guess we'll see because
Okay.
maybe they'll have a full team going into it. I don't know, but it'll be interesting for sure. I'm sure there'll be some interesting news as well on who they're looking to sign, but not sure.
Man, the amount of
All right.
smirks and smiles in this conversation is unreal. We've addressed the elephant in the room without addressing the elephant in the room. Maybe we can talk a little bit more about ESL Prem. Just a quick wrap up on the event as a whole. Obviously, I guess your perspective on the UK scene as the #1 UK team now is obviously you're going to come into these events thinking you're the #1, right? And rightly so. Is there anyone that surprised you this season? Maybe a Black Hand who nearly beat Endpoint, or a Fanbit at the time. Now obviously Eco. Is there any of the guys that have really caught you off? Maybe a player individually as well this season?
For me, Wolfie.
I was gonna say the same, but I wasn't gonna say an
Yeah.
EPS. Just in other tournaments, I think
Yeah, that's fine.
is looked like a real talent. To be fair to him.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him quite a bit on ESEA Advanced playoffs, didn't we, Ryan? He got a few
Yeah.
HLTV games under his belt. So I think we've definitely seen the last couple of months more HLTV like representation for UK teams. So maybe that will continue come out of the player break as well. Perhaps maybe the next Advanced playoff season.
Yeah, I think there's 3 people, and it's literally all comes from one pin team. Wolfie, Azoo, and Leaf, which I just think are like just insane. Like the best players in UK, I'd say. Like other than what's the Into the Reach.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess on the topic then of one pin in Advanced and whatnot, you guys have obviously been in and around the block for ESEA for a little while. We saw you guys in ESL Challenger League a couple of seasons ago. A bit of a heartbreak, a difficult time for you lot as well. But I guess, Josh, we can talk a little bit about Advanced as a whole now, right? And sort of where we
Yeah, you can do.
stand with that as a whole. This season, and I think, I've said it on many episodes now, Josh, and it feels like a broken record at this point, but quite honestly, it seems to be the talent just keeps getting better and better through, the ESEA seasons and whatnot. Advanced, I think this time around, has a little over 100 teams, 102, 103, something like that. There's a lot of big names out there as well. I'll bring up a list of them as well so people at home can see. Any particular teams or players or anything you've got an eye on heading into this season? Obviously, you guys are going to be fighting for that ESL Challenger League spot again for next season. So what's the mentality like coming into this one? You got any teams that you got your eye on or you want to be careful for?
To be honest with you, I have not had a proper look. And
Yeah, I'm looking now as well.
Apex on it. I think they are, right.
Yeah, with the JL and Asilian listed as their.
I think Skade, no? Skade and maybe Amanek now. I mean, LDSC now because of Amanek. I think are the main ones.
To be honest, Advanced is one of those where I don't really think about the opponents until we get to playoffs.
Yeah, I back that.
Once you get to playoffs, that's when you can start to think, all right, hopefully we get these in the draw, or hopefully we get these, hopefully we avoid these, you know. And then,
Sure.
but for the regular season, it doesn't really matter who we play. I think because it's like usually, don't want to jinx it, but usually we always make playoffs in Advanced.
Do you know what has surprised me, to be honest, Ryan, is the academy teams of Mal's NXT and Fnatic Rising here. Because I remember we spoke to Regali in the past, and he purposely said they don't play Advanced because obviously they can't get promotion because they can't allow themselves into ECL. So why are they here? Like, I'm not really sure why they've like decided whether they just want to get more like officials under their belt. I'm not sure.
What I find really interesting in all of this is that both of them are invited teams as well, right? So it's not even like that they've come from previous events and they're playing themselves. Like ESEA and ESL as a product have said, do you know what, we want you in this event. And so what does that mean if, you know, Mal's NXT are to go into ESL Challenger League next season and do good damage and maybe get a slot in conference? Like, how does that all work? Do they only play for the prize money? Sort of, there's a lot of question marks around that. Maybe, you know, there's more answers as time goes on. But you are right. There is a lot to talk about when it comes to this pairing of invites, right, with the young teams, Fnatic Rising and Mal's NXT.
Are you guys? Yeah, go on, Sava.
Sorry, I think the Fnatic Rise team is actually like really good now. I think obviously I think Mal's NXT didn't make playoffs, right? And we played.
That is surprising. Yeah, they
Yeah,
got
that is. And we actually practiced Fnatic Rising as well, and they're looking really, really good. Like Volt in particular, I think I said this ages ago. Like he is like insane. He's really fucking good.
Yeah, they've made changes themselves because they brought in a new AWPer, didn't they, Ryan? I
Yeah,
was
Depression.
kind of surprised about Regali. Like, obviously, he got bought out to go somewhere else. But I think overall they topped their group. They might even be like a contender to go quite far in the Academy League playoffs, which could look very good for Volt. But yeah, overall, I mean, Skade, you probably put them as like one of the big favorites. Even Apex, where they stand, I mean, Asilian is still listed on the lineup there. I'm sure that's going to change. But then in saying that, like, Sticko has just been called as like the new IGL now. So I wonder who they even pick up as like another player to fill that spot, because they'll have to fill it pretty quickly.
Honestly, no, I've got no clue. But I wonder how he's gonna manage. I think it's his first time calling Sticko, and it's definitely not something like easy to transition to. Not saying he can't do it, obviously, but like it's definitely like a hard transition, especially when you've been a rifler for so long. But at the same time, you know, he's played with a lot of different in-game leaders, and I'm sure he's picked up a lot of different things from each one that he can try and use and kind of, you know, inspire his way of calling, I guess.
Adam, I wanted to get your thoughts on this Monty team that you're playing. I think it's the 4th game you're playing this season, which is obviously like the FPL mix that's qualifying to a lot of events right now. Warrior 2K, Boris, Joel, Red Star. I mean, you'll be familiar with some of the names. You play them in your 4th game of the season. Are those sort of teams really tough to play when they're just like mixers? You know, they're not practicing at all. The lineup keeps changing.
In the best of one, I guess it can be, because it's like they'll have, you know, 3 bans pretty much, and we'll have 3 bans, and they know pretty much what map it's going to be, like to a certain extent, you know. And I'm sure that they'll be comfortable to play any of those like 4 maps, because if you're a mix, then you can pretty much pug like 4 maps in the pool, you know. Like the maps that are harder to pug, like let's think, like Ancient, for example. Like they'll probably just ban like things like that, and then they'll leave things like Mirage and Dusty open, you know, which are easier to pug. So for sure it'll be an interesting game, but honestly I'm not too concerned, just because it's the best of one. And we'll be playing like a lot of best of ones in ESEA, so I'm not too concerned, and not just like of the result, but like I'm not like scared to play either of any of the players either. I think they're all there for the taking, same as like any other team in Advanced pretty much. It just depends who shows up on the day and who wants it more.
Fair. Do you want to move on then to maybe Assembly Summer? Or actually, no,
Yeah.
we'll leave that till last. We'll leave that till last, just before the roster
Okay.
changes. We can talk about the Champions of Champions Tour. You guys probably know a fair bit about it as well. Basically, the Tier 2 circuit, most of the tournament organisers coming together to basically band up in what feels like a Blast/ESL circuit for Tier 2, right? Where there's points up for grabs per tournament. You've got to play in certain stages. Getting X amount of points grants you to one of the studio finals, and then the people that do well in the studio finals and through the online era, basically you get a shot at $500,000 LAN. Over the next 2 years, I think, Josh, is the quote that we've had here, or maybe like 2.5 years, something like that. I think by 2024 they announced. So there's a lot that we can talk about with this, but we've only just started things off, right? The Central European stage has started. I don't think there's many notable names, just because, again, we have literally just touched in on the Champions of Champions Tour. So as I bring up the Liquipedia, you will see that we are in one very small slice of the pie when it comes to this event, because, as you can see, we're in the Central Europe Closed Qualifier. There's 8 series, 2 finals, the points ranking for Central Europe, and then the points ranking gives you a chance at the global finals, right? So this is like looking at such a little amount. For you guys, obviously, for ITB, 100% you guys will be looking into playing this stuff. Have you had much of a thought as to this and sort of the promise of Tier 2 and maybe the stability of it now?
To be honest with you, I know what this is. Like, I've heard of it, but I haven't looked into it at all. It's just like the kind of thing that, a manager comes and he's like, "Oh, this is cool. We'll be playing this," So it's more of that. Like, I don't really think about tournaments until like we know we're going to be playing for sure and we have our fixtures and things like that. But yeah, it does look promising from what I've seen of it, which is, again, like pretty much very little.
I think the manager said about someone playing in September. I think there's a close qualifying in September, he said, or something like that. So I think we're playing that one.
I think it gives me signs, Ryan, to say, well, the player break's ending, because as soon as you start getting events like this, right, it's sort of back to business. I mean, for a closed qual, I think you've got some decent looking teams. I don't think there's the strongest level of competition. Obviously, Nexus with Zello is back in action there, so that could be an opportunity to see like what his return back into that Romanian squad is going to be like for them. Obviously, Paloma, we saw them a few episodes ago, winning one of the events. What is it? The 1xBet series event, right? The ones that wasn't on HLTV. They seem to keep qualifying to quite a lot. So I think overall, you've got like a lower level competition in this closed qual. And then I think the main event even starts in 12 days. So it's not going to be long.
Yeah, so I'll bring up the overview here. There is so many teams that get invited. So 4 teams from the closed qualifier make the main event. We have 12 invited teams and another 8 on top of that are invited into the high seed. So for a $50,000 circuit, there are a lot of teams involved. What's interesting to note as well, Josh, and I guess we'll probably know in a couple of weeks' time when this starts, is the point distribution for these events, right? We have no clue how that looks, sort of how many points is needed. We don't know what the points ranking is going to look like, and if all of Europe's tied together or whatever it may be. We don't know sort of the greater picture for this just yet, and it would be nice to know that at some point or another. But yeah, by the looks of things, this is kind of like a relog media circuit, right? Where there isn't the high seed invited teams join in the quarterfinals, or maybe not actually. Maybe they just get invited into the round 1. I'm not too sure actually how that one works in terms of the high seed, because I'm looking now, and if there's 8 teams invited to the high seed, then this playoff bracket doesn't include it. So I'm guessing I'm going to treat this like a Pinnacle Cup or a Pinnacle Winter Series or whatever, in the fact that we have a main Swiss into the playoffs, the high seed gets invited to the playoff stage. And then we just go from there. Smaller circuits, but I think they add up to the bigger things. So I wonder sort of the level that we're going to get here. But as I said, right, we're in the closed qualifier. We know quite literally nothing as to the teams that are going to be invited and whatever. So who knows? Who has a clue how this looks in 2 weeks or so? But I guess for you guys as well, maybe Adam, as you said, this is your first proper look into this, but no doubt we'll probably see you guys here, because this is quite big for Tier 2, I must admit, Josh. And I'm a big fan, actually, that we have such a guaranteed circuit, especially in terms of prize pool as well.
I'll say there'll be a lot of new teams on HLTV because keep in mind, if the closed qual is on HLTV and you get 4 open qual spots for every single region, for every single cup, you're going to get a lot of new faces on HLTV, which I think is only going to bring that competition up higher for some of the lower level squads that maybe we're not too familiar with. So I would imagine like the UK would be in like West Europe. I think like it's all on their website of what division everybody's in, because obviously a lot of it is region locked, that just because it's an European event, you can't just be from anywhere in Europe. You have to have a certain core of the nationality.
Fair enough. Let's talk about something a little close to home for you guys then. Obviously, you guys went to Finland not too long ago, and I think a lot of people at home watching will know exactly how that one went. You guys won the entire thing. I think it's probably the first time in a little while we've actually had a UK team go outside of the UK and play an event, Josh, if I'm not mistaken. I couldn't think of the last time actually that a UK team has actually like left the UK to go and play an in-house event.
Bambit, right?
I guess the last time would be Fanbit in Austria.
That's a little bit of a lower level, but I guess that is an example.
Last,
yeah.
So by the looks of things, it was you guys invited as a UK team. We had Void, the Cecinio team, that were the Norwegian side that came from the European qualifier. And then we had 6 other Finnish teams. Obviously, Whitey was there with Ents Academy as well. But you guys basically represented Britain in this event. From a group stage GSL format to a single elim playoff stage, I guess we can start with the groups a little bit. You guys went 2-0. I'll bring up the matches now so you can see. Visu was your first game. They went 0-2, and then you played Ents Academy. Talk to me about Visu. I'll bring up the team above here so you can see. Jeremy, Linksy, Jerpa, Opi, Choco. Surprising that they put up double digits against you guys, or was it just kind of settling in your first game there?
Yeah, I think it was definitely the settling.
Yeah, it was for sure. Like for me as well, it was just like it was the first game there. You know, land jitters. It was just like one of those ones. It happens, I think.
I mean, you could probably say, like, with the draw as well, knowing that you guys are a fairly new team, you probably got a very good draw, like knowing that you had to play an Ents Academy side who's only very new as well in the winners match, and then obviously a brand new look Havu. Was that almost more encouraging, knowing that the matches that you had to sort of give yourselves like an extra boost of motivation, knowing that maybe not so much these games are getting easier, but the games are probably better for us?
I think Harvey was the best team there. I'm not gonna lie. I think Harvey were better than Jano.
Yeah, I think we should play Harvey in the final, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think that's what we expected, but it was going to be like that until Jano beat Harvey in like overtime in the
Inferno.
The winners match.
One, right?
Yeah, the winners match.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, one team that we're obviously very familiar with, Ryan, has got to be Kova. I mean, they play quite a lot of the Tier 2 circuit. They haven't made that many changes. Obviously, they had Otto as a sub, so unfortunately, they couldn't have their full 5 for this event. Making playoffs and having a fairly close game. I mean, they might have even played you in the finals if that series would have gone slightly different. We always know that Kova, like, you don't play them on Nuke because they're always one of the best Nuke teams that we have in Tier 2. That was one of the closest games. I mean, without, joking aside and without memes, Adam, how did you think of Alu's team?
To be honest, I'm trying to think now. Like, what maps did we play them on? Mirage, Nuke, and Inferno.
Inferno, yeah.
I guess I'll start with the Mirage. I thought they were pretty decent at Mirage, to be honest. I don't think they were bad at all. On the CT, I thought they were pretty solid all around. But to be fair, I remember thinking that we should have won that game. I remember we brought it back from 14-6, I think, to 14-14. And the round they did in 14-14 was something so random that it just caught us off completely off guard. And
I also think Zor was just completely that game. Like he was literally like Zyro just running around one tapping.
I remember I kept like looking to my coach. I was like, "Did you see that?" I was like, "Did you see how that guy just one tapped me?" Yeah, that guy was literally. I'm not gonna say live gaming because I think that's a good thing to say, but like he was having a really really good game on Mirage, and he was definitely feeling it. Like the shots he was hitting were literally insane.
I remember like one round I was on the balk and Drake and Rossi were just like jungle, and all I heard was a double one tap. I'm like, yeah, what the fuck's going on, man?
Fair enough.
Crazy stuff.
I guess we can
Yeah.
talk maybe a little bit about Nuke and Inferno then. Another overtime on Nuke. How was that one for you guys? It must be a long one, obviously. I think we were watching from home and it ended at like 1 a.m. our time, which is like 3 a.m. finish time. Must be getting on, especially considering you had to play Harvu later in the day or earlier in the day as well. So what was that like? Such a battling BO3 where again it goes to another overtime. Or what did you think of their Nuke more importantly?
No, I didn't think that they were very good on Nuke. I thought they were pretty predictable. I think it was just one of those where it was like, it was hard to reset when you lose a round, when you have, 150 Finnish people in front of you screaming for the other team. And then on top of that, I'm hearing it echo through Rusty's mic every single time. So every single time one of them get a kill and the crowd screams, I'm hearing it through Rusty's mic, and I'm like, "Can you mute your microphone for fuck's sake? I can't hear myself think." So that was getting like a little bit frustrating. But we used our attack pulls as well to kill any momentum they had. And like I said, I know it went to overtime, but I think they were definitely much better on Mirage than they were on Nuke. I think we should have won Nuke a lot more convincingly.
Was we like 14-8 up no, or something like that on Nuke?
I think it was like
when it
15-10, 15-10, I think, something like that.
Yeah, it was a rough one.
Yeah, I guess the decider Inferno 16-5. Do you reckon by then that's when you guys were in the zone and things were looking good, or do you think their Inferno could have been a little better? Sort of what was your opinion on the final map?
I think
I think
Inferno should have been better, but I think Ali was just mega tilted.
I think they all were. I think
Yeah.
because I spoke to Otto B, I think his name is, after the game, and he said like when they were speaking as a team before they played us, they were like, "Oh, these guys are gonna be like tired. They're gonna be knackered after playing that Harvey game." And I was like, "No," I was like, "That's not how you like your thought process should be at all. If you go into a game thinking your opponent are gonna be tired, they're gonna be sluggish, then when you start losing, you're just gonna get a tilt. You're gonna be like, why aren't we winning?" And it was a conversation we had like before the final as well. It was like, guys, like we just played a long game, but we didn't get to the final to play to lose it. Like we have to be awake and we have to wake ourselves up, even if it's getting late, even if it's getting 1, 2 a.m. Like if you want to win, then let's show that you want to win and show that you can stay awake and fight against the fatigue. And I think that's what everyone did. We had great energy even at 3 a.m. when it was we were playing the last map, and I mean we were all up till to like 9 a.m. anyway, getting a flight like 10 a.m. so we had no sleep all night. But yeah, it just goes to show like how much we wanted to win.
What do you think some of the biggest takeaways were, like mistake-wise? Because obviously you don't want to look at that too harshly, because obviously you won the event. But just knowing that it's the first international LAN for you guys in quite a while, you got some new players. Was there a lot after the event that you looked at and thought, geez, like if this was better, like it could have just been a walk in the park, or like what? How does an IGL look at that after a tournament victory?
Yeah, I've already watched 2 of our demos where we were the ones who lost the leads. I think we won both times we lost the leads. Like, for example, I think it was 15-9 Nuke and 15-10 Nuke, and we lost the leads both times. And the mistakes were like pretty minor. I think it was more of a case of just like finding it hard to stop the momentum when you have like a crowd against you, and on top of that, like I said, the mic thing. Like I can't express enough how telling that was, just to hear, like through Rusty's microphone, the crowd pretty much just like screaming. But we fixed that eventually. I think that's probably why the last map was so one-sided, because we fixed that. And we couldn't hear them anymore. But in general, like, of course, there's a few mistakes like that I'll look at, and I have looked at and identified, and we'll go over next time we practice. But I don't want to look at it too hard, because, like you said, it was like we won, and on top of that, it was our first like international LAN together. I think the main thing that we need to focus on after that LAN is our body language. Like our body language at times, like honestly, it was. I don't know how I didn't get pissed off, because it was like we were 15-9 up and we lose the round 15-10, and I'm seeing Kai got his hands like this after losing a 1v1, or I'm seeing Draken got his head in his hands, and I'm there like you look like fucking losers, just stop. I'm like, they're looking at us the same way we were looking at them when we're winning, and then they're getting confidence from seeing how down we are. It's like you can't be fucking down. Like you could be losing 8-0, you have to keep the energy high and keep believing. And like I see in football, yeah, and like a prime example is when a striker misses a chance here and he's got his head in his hands. And then another time, I remember I saw another striker who missed a chance in the Champions League final, and he instantly got up and started running. And it's like, that's the mentality you have to have. You can't dwell on the things that you've fucked up. Essentially, you have to keep fighting and keep moving on and have that belief. Otherwise, it's like you're not doing yourselves any favors.
Well, I'd probably counter that, Adam, and say, why wasn't there more smiles when you lifted the trophy, mate?
Oh,
There's a big reason for that actually. It's because a few the day before we flew to Finland, I got braces, so I was in pain throughout the whole event.
Okay.
And then I got ill as well the day before the final, so I was ill, playing it in a lot of pain on braces, and I was just taking a lot of paracetamol. So yeah, I was in a lot of pain for the final, and that's pretty much why there was no smiles.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, we've got the reasoning. Kai, I'd like to ask you, does any achievement come from winning Epic 36 lead on to this assembly event?
I wouldn't say much. I'd say nah, honestly, not much at all. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Well, on a serious note, then, what was it like playing at an international LAN? Because that was your first one, right?
Yeah, it was insane. It was really fucking fun to play. It was everything about it was just so hype to play. It's like walking on stage, seeing the crowd, and in the finals as well. Just like 500 people. Even though they were chanting for the enemy team, most of the time it was still sick. Because if you did good play, they would actually root for you. So no matter what, it was nerve-wracking, sure, but once you get used to the nerves, it was so fun.
fair enough. Ash has called you moody bastards, by the way. Just thought I'd throw that one out there.
Yeah, alright.
Yeah, I reckon that was at the comment you made, Adam, with your braces. He's saying you've been cheated, basically. He feels cheated.
Yeah.
That's what I'm seeing there. All right. Any more questions, maybe, Josh, about the event? Otherwise, we'll move on to the roster changes.
I'd probably ask Adam as a whole. Obviously, you said that you could hear some of the casters. I think this is a LAN overall. How was it run? Because obviously, for all of us, there wasn't an English stream. I think we were watching a Russian stream at some point, and even watching the Finnish stream. How was it actually playing? Good conditions and everything.
I think Define actually streamed the semis and final on his Twitch. But yeah, I know a lot of the Finnish players were kind of complaining because we're starting a final at 1 a.m. Grand final at 1 a.m. But PCs were fine. I didn't like the microphones that they gave us. I thought they were pretty poor. Felt almost like ESEA stage level. It was cool to have a crowd. Like I said, all that was cool. Hearing the casters and stuff was really minor, but obviously it was in Finnish, so every advantage would have been to the other team. But the one confusing part though was the screen was right behind us, so every time I wanted to turn around and fist bump my coach, I could see the screen, and I was maybe I shouldn't be turning around here, but I want to look at my coach, I want to look at my coach. Yeah, after a round where I turned around, oh shit, I shouldn't be doing that. But yeah, that was a bit weird, just having that right behind you. But I don't know, the admins were nice. We had our own little player lounge where we could get drinks or snacks or whatever. It was cool. The only problem that I'd say is maybe the microphones were pretty bad, and that maybe the schedule wasn't ideal because I think they played the first semi-final at 4 p.m. and the second one at 7, and I think it was why play it so late? 4 p.m. You could start a semi at 1 p.m. or 12 p.m. And then that way you'd play the finals at 8 p.m. something like that, which is you'd still finish at an acceptable time.
Maybe Assembly needs to invite some more UK teams next time to take all the prize money run.
Yeah, I reckon so.
I agree.
Okay, I've got one more thing. A little opinion maybe from you guys. Blackhand are going to the US to play in Philadelphia.
Oh, yes.
Maybe opinions, thoughts, things like that. Do you guys ever think about going there? And what do you think about Blackhand taking their team to NA?
We did actually think of going there, but literally it's crazy the amount of things we have to play next month, so we don't have time to, I guess. we're playing a lot of things next month. But I think it's really great that they're going, and I hope they do well. It'll be nice to see them do well. I know most of the players pretty well, especially Fraser. I don't know the amount, like I don't know what teams are going there as well. I know the prize pool is pretty good though. I think it's like 100k, right?
For the
Really?
finals it is. So I think for this event it will be something
Oh,
like
is this like a qualifier, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
this is a
So
qualifier
if you
sort of
do
thing.
well in this event, like you get up to the main event, which is 100k. But yeah, I think this frag's like maybe 10k prize pool or something like that. But again, like doing well will qualify you to the 100k event at the end.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's really good that they're going. And like I said, I hope they do well. And I hope if they do well, then it'll encourage other UK teams to keep going out and getting that experience under the belt, really, because I do think it's important. I think it's something that every player needs. You know, I've only been to 2 international lands myself, and I can tell you, like, you get a lot of experience from it. And I think I definitely learned a lot from my first one, and what I learned from that first one helped me to win the one we just won.
Now, I wonder, Ryan, do you reckon they'll stay in NA then? Because the time between that frag and the main frag is like 3 weeks. So do they just go to that event, come back, and then go to NA again 3 weeks later? I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think it has to be. Hey, I don't because again, if I'm not mistaken, this frag starts. It's Fullerton 2, right? That they're going to.
Yes.
And it starts on the 12th of the 8th. So it starts in what 2 days? No,
Oh,
surely
yeah,
not.
they might be traveling then.
So it starts in 2 days. It ends in 4 days. So they've still got time to come home and play the qualifiers. But if the main event starts in 2 weeks, how does that do in terms of the EU qualifiers, right? Are we gonna have overlap? Like I don't specifically know the dates. I think it starts in 2 weeks from now, right? Or next week, the 15th, the EU qualifiers start. So if they are going to play in frag, then we've got very little time between them coming home, playing the EU qualifiers, and if they are to
And then
win
going
this
back.
Fullerton 2, to go back to play the main event. So does this screw their chances of qualifying for the major? I think there's a lot more questions in terms of the logistics of this team. And I think a point that you raised, sure, it seems a bit silly to fly your team out to stay there in case they play the finals. But then, what do we say about them going to NA to play the NA RMR qualies if they are to play in frag or something like that? So I don't know. Maybe that's a conversation that they've had that we don't know exactly what's going on. But you are right. I think there's a couple of question marks here that kind of, I'd like to understand more in terms of the timing and sort of how this team is gonna pan out if they are to win this frag.
Yeah. So just look now, Ryan. It's the 9th of September is when the main event starts. So if it finishes on the 14th, that's like 4 weeks basically. So maybe they just come back then.
Yeah, I think they will. So
Yeah.
that's enough time, I reckon, to come back home and play the
I think so.
EURR qualies. So sure, that
Yeah.
shouldn't be too much of a problem for them. So yeah. I guess any other things on this, Dweg? Any other events we want to quickly touch on, or?
No, not really. I think there's another Beyond event going on. Obviously, you guys played in the last
Oh,
one.
yes.
Tell me about like the circuit overall, because obviously it's great that more money's being pumped into the UK circuit and more teams. Are you guys? I mean, obviously you got a busy workload and a lot of events, but would you think you'd participate in another one?
Oh yeah, we're gonna be playing in it.
I think we're playing in Beyond, right? Yeah.
I mean, it's good that it's on HLTV. I think that's the main driving force. You know, anything on HLTV is good to play, especially like if it's like what's for the word, like it's not that big of it's not that long of a tournament. You know, like the length of it's done in like 2 days. You beat a few teams and you get some HLTV points, and it might not be many points. It literally, Kai lives for that. But moving on.
That's cap.
It was funny on LAN, on LAN we were against Felico, and like I'm the yard player on Nuke, and I just see guys like swinging red with Glocks, and Kai's the door guy, and the next thing you know, he's in T red, like swinging Glocks. I'm like, yeah, okay, like, okay
It was
then.
a slow game. It was a slow game, and you gotta get back into it somehow.
Yeah, but no, it's good that it's really really good what I think it's organized by like Endpoint, right?
Yeah, that sounds about
yeah,
right.
yeah. It's organized by Endpoint and the UK circuit. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just really, really, really good what they're doing. I think it's a shame that it's come so late. I think this would have been nice to have years ago. But better late than never, and hopefully they keep doing it, and hopefully we keep playing and winning and getting some easy money.
I like it.
Mm.
I like it. Just trying to think any more UK events coming up. Maybe the Blast qualifiers again. They come around for the Blast.
For
Blast.
UK?
Yeah, because they usually do one UK one, right? I think I remember you
Okay.
guys ITB playing it and beat Endpoint, right? 16-14 on Inferno. I remember that game very much. So again, probably those events come
That
around
might be
again.
another one then.
But we
Yeah.
don't know anything regarding that right now
Hmm.
and what's going on. So I'd hope to see those. But that's all I can think of in terms of UK events. So I can chalk this one up and we can move to the roster changes quick.
Yeah, cool.
Nice. We can talk about the roster change a little bit more, guys. And if obviously you have an opinion on any of the roster changes or anything like that, then you can just say a piece. And if you think a roster change is good or bad, or what to make of it, it's probably the most honest part, right? It's all opinionated, here, Josh. So we don't mind. We don't mind. Josh, where do we start?
Should we start with NA? Now we were thinking about the frag. Stan and Rush going
Oh.
to the Evil Geniuses
Yeah.
Carpe Diem lineup. So the whole, as far as I was aware, it was right. Both Party Astronauts and Carpe Diem, they're going to move up. They're going to keep the lineups, and then all of a sudden, like there's just more changes with the out of main team. What do you guys think of that? I mean, there's a lot of experience being brought forward for a young team.
I don't know. It just seems like a mess from like an outsider's point of view, I guess. Like, I don't really understand like the thought process behind it. I think like maybe in the heads they have a plan, but like I think it's one of those where when you have an idea, but it's really hard to execute it. I don't know, having so many players like under an organization can just become very complicated very quickly. Honestly, I don't know. I hope they do well because like I'm not praying on anyone's downfall, but I just don't see it personally.
More question marks, maybe, Ryan.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think the thing for me with EG and what really sort of sparked a hatred fire for how they're taking things on is the fact that in the Pinnacle Championship, I mean, sure, it was revealed later on that Stewie had issues, but why are we not playing the main team? Why are we not fielding a team that is like 150th on HLTV, right? Like, that is not EG. And the fact, obviously, for the EGPA team, right, the Party Astronaut side that got to go, I have no hate for those guys, and I'm very happy that they got the chance to go and play and experience a LAN event that they certainly wouldn't have had a chance of if they weren't under the EG banner. But I don't know. It's a very confusing thing for me, and the fact that we've got two players are very capable of being sort of the A team quality, right? The main team, I should say, quality. Maybe this is sort of a project where it's like Eyeballers, right? Where we bring in some NA talent and we try to build up the youth. Like maybe that's the route they want to take. But even then, it's nice that they have all these options and opportunities. But surely this is a killer to two very solid pros that could still have a couple of cycles, a couple of majors left in them. I guess I'm pushing the boundary a bit, but you want to look to the stars for these guys, and considering Rush is a major champion, then we're going to the second team in EG. I know that's not technically what they are, but I'm going to label it in that context is that they are the second team for EG, and so I hope that they're going to use this as a chance to brew new talent. But again, if they're brewing new talent, then surely you think Rush is thinking his career's done if he's being used in this kind of way to try and build up new talent. So I don't know. I'm not a massive fan of the moves. I'm not a massive fan of the opportunity maybe for them. But for the players that are obviously going to be in the roster and be mentored by these guys, then yeah, I'm a massive fan of the move. But again, I think this does more harm than good.
I mean, realistically, though, it's probably the best NA ECL team we've seen in years. Like, you think back to what MDL used to be years ago, used to get all the top teams. Obviously, it's just been South American-based for quite a while, the last, maybe year and a half. So now, actually, for an NA team, this looks to be the most stacked one in that division. The thing that sucks, though, and we spoke about it in the Bowden episode, was, well, they can't get promotion. Even if they win ECL, they can't play in conference because obviously EG are a partner team in EPL itself. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. A team maybe closer to home, Heat, benching Lucky and bringing in Jax. Have you guys had a chance of playing Heat recently in an official or a prac?
I think last time we played him was when they were DBL Pony. I think Heat are really good. Like, I think, Adam, you really like the Joker, right? Like, you said he's like one of the best entries.
Yeah, that Joker guy's a really good entry. I think he's really, really crisp. I don't know. I hope they do well. I don't know what's happened to Lucky or why he's got benched. To be honest, I haven't seen how he's been performing recently, but I know there was a point where they were like constantly like in around top 30 on HLTV, and they were doing pretty well. They were beating good teams, but like I said, I don't know what's happened. Why Lucky's got benched? Maybe one of you two. No, maybe he's been playing bad. I'm not sure.
Well, I was going to say, Ryan, I mean, we think back to that Heat Masonic game that happened in ESEA. Obviously, Heat did very well there, and we've seen that they qualified for Pro League as well through conference. So obviously, the results have been very good, and they ended up winning that ESEA event. Obviously, they got stronger as the event went on, but perhaps they might think that there is a missing element. And when you hear that maybe Jax is available, yes, you've got tier 1 players in Body and Lucky in the past. You don't have tier 1 players now. So maybe that opportunity of Jax on for the taking is almost a no-brainer just with the experience he brings.
I find quite interesting that you mentioned the tier 1 experience that Lucky's had, and obviously Body as well. My guess would be the role clash would be as minimal with Lucky than it would be with Exercise and Jocko, who, by the way, both players, or all three of them, actually rated very similarly in 1.02, 1.03, 1.03. So, for a team that has been together, I think the only thing that I could think, the reason why Lucky is being benched over anyone else in this roster, is simply that the role clash would be as minimal with Lucky than it would be with Exercise or Jocko, because Jax, obviously, I don't know, I feel like it would be a bit of a waste if he was entrying at the same time. Maybe the role change is needed at Heat, and they bring in Jax and they're going to try something completely new. I don't know the plans. I find it very interesting this team is still top 30. I'm not sure if that's because Jax holds points from G2 and he's come across and points still stay.
I think they were still around there.
And another point I wanted to bring up, right, with this addition of Jax is where does that put them in the ESL ranking spots, right? I think that's
higher, right?
That's a topic that we don't really discuss much here. With all these ESL events, the ESL, I think it's the Pro Tour ranking or the World Tour ranking points. They mean something. They get you the invites to these events. So if Jax is with G2 and he holds a fifth of the points that G2 would have got when he was on this roster, I mean, sure, it probably would decay a bit, and they take that into consideration. He still gets points. And it very much happened with Imperial in the last dance, right? With like some of these players having points, and they instantly went to like top 30 in ESL World Tour points. So I don't know. Obviously, they're not going to pick him up just for that reason. That's not what I'm saying. But there's a lot of benefits that come with this. And I think to extend this greater, and I think you'll talk about it in a second, Josh, is that we've had a lot of French mashups, right? And we've now got teams all over the shot that are starting to incorporate tier 1 talent into a tier 2/3 team. I think LDLC also have a very similar thing. Falcons also closing in on tier 1 talent as well, if I'm not mistaken. So we've got a lot right now, like a lot when it comes to the French scene, and I find that very interesting.
Do you reckon it could just be, Adam, that they feel like they're missing that one step to be the next level? Because obviously they've qualified for the ESEA LAN and they've qualified for EPL, and you've got the RMR quals coming soon. Like, a lot of people would say this is the worst timing in the world to make a change when you've got those sort of events. But realistically, if you don't get Jax now, he's going to be gone pretty soon. Like, there are going to be so many teams that want someone like Jax. Maybe not at the tier 1 level, like there might only be a few, but definitely at the tier 2 level, there will be a lot of teams after Jax. And maybe they just realized if it isn't now, then we don't make another change for 12 months.
I don't know, honestly. I think that's only something that the players themselves could answer. For all we know, it could have been an organizational decision or a management decision rather than a team decision. If it was a team decision, then I'd have to guess maybe there's been like a falling out or something like that within the team, or some sort of disagreement like that. Because, like you said, that like 3 of those players have been playing at a similar level. I can see what Jax adds. I can, but I'm not sure if he's going to take them from where they've peaked, which is like around 20th in the world, something like that, 23rd, to the next level. I'm not sure if he's the player to do that.
Yeah,
valid. All right. B&E still not signed. Are we surprised, Ryan? I mean, they did add an assistant coach, KJ, who's a Canadian coach that's coached quite a lot of the ECL level teams in North America. Obviously, RBG before they became Carp DM, before they went over to EG. Are we surprised that like they're still making changes even though they don't have an org?
If I'm honest, I think it's a win-win for both of them, right? For the lad that has, coached at an ESL Challenger League level for a long time, this is a massive benefit to him because he's now getting a chance at Tier 1 because they've got the RMR slot, don't forget, from the last major. So he's guaranteed to be in and about with the major and bringing forward maybe the new level that we need to see BNE at. And for BNE, they're not going to say no to someone joining them for free that's just going to help on the day-by-day basis, right, in an assistant coach position. So I think for KJ, this is a really good chance for him to maybe make the next step, right? And as you said, being stuck in sort of the ESL Challenger League and maybe dipping into Pro League sort of conference level for a little while, this is now his push in EU for a real good chance to bring a new layer to this team. And for BNE, they're never going to say no to another assistant coach, right? Just to I guess, release some of the pressures off Stickle's hands and sort of, give maybe Banks a bit of help as well in sort of the managerial part of things. Although he's listed as a coach, I feel like he's going to be very hands-on with the guys and try and help out where he can. So I think it's a win-win for both. Is there better options? Probably, right? I think there's a lot more European-based options that they could have made over this pickup for especially someone who's in Canada at the same time. If the offer's there and, he's, I mean, I don't want to say he's got a Liquipedia, which means he's good, but you know what I mean? Like, clearly he's more notable enough that he's been in and around the coaching scene, in and around this sort of assistant coaching spot. Like, he's worked with RBG, he's worked obviously with OneTap. Again, all of these teams ESL Challenger League level. I just think this brings him up to the next level. RBG was his biggest stint. Then next, I think it was the X13 guys in sort of NA. They played in Dallas in the American qualifiers. Like, he's been in around sort of a lower level than BNE, but I don't see why this doesn't bring a new level to them and help them out.
Kai, I wanted to ask you about the Apex signing of JL. Have you seen much of like those X-Bad Lions players? I mean, we kind of said it, Ryan, knowing that Cuban's there, they're going to get some X-Bad Lions players, and what happens? JL goes straight over. You see much from the Lithuanian?
Yeah, I see. I played quite a few pogs with Joe actually, and
Okay.
I think he actually adds a lot of firepower to the squad. He actually is really crisp, and I think adding the firepower plus the experience he has is really good with Apex. I think they're quite strong now. Depending who the fifth is, like if they add another person who can shoot as heavy as JL, I think maybe like Boris, because I saw he wasn't on Monty's Liquipedia page anymore on one of the tournaments. So I just think maybe looking towards someone like Boros or something like that, it would be quite strong.
Yeah.
Boris or a Red Star, maybe, Ryan? I mean,
Yeah.
some of like
I think
those
that's
sort of players.
A really interesting thing, right, is because obviously I didn't even think about the fact that Stiko's now IGLing, right? And so we're
Yeah.
no
Get a
longer
strong
looking.
rifle.
We're no longer looking for a tier 2 IGL. I think the only option they had at that time was probably Bird from Sky, right? Now this opens a lot of doors, right? The Bird from Sky option is out the window, but as Kai's rightly pointed out, is this where we get another young gun that isn't an AWPer, like we had in Chauzy and put on these support roles? Is this where, a Boros gets nurtured by more European-based talent and whatnot? So yeah, I think that's a really good point, Kai, and maybe in the future, yeah, we do see a Boros pickup or someone of young age, an FPL talent that just bosh straight into the Apex side. Maybe some raw firepower, some we haven't seen. Definitely could be an option.
Hang on, Ryan. Didn't we see that Blue Jays are no longer contracted, so there's no buyout there? Kakanito to go over?
I don't know,
be
man.
A decent one.
I don't know. He's a Dust 2 demon, but I haven't seen much beyond that. So I don't know, man.
That guy is really fucking good. Like,
he is
good.
He's a good player. So
Yeah.
I reckon
Maybe.
quite a lot of teams will try and get him, to be honest, knowing that they're not with Blue Jays anymore.
The only thing I can think of right now is the language barrier. Like, I think he
Yeah,
plays in like
yeah.
FPLC or FPL, right? But I think
He's in FPL.
I think he's only played with Macedonian players, right? So maybe the language barrier is okay. If he's playing in FPL, then his comms must be to a decent level. But in a team environment outside of a Macedonian-speaking side, like, I don't know how good his English is. So again, it's a very valid option, but I think logistically there could be a couple of things that set him back. But I would be really interested to see him in sort of a tier 2 team outside of Blue Jays. He's joining Ents?
He's joining Ents. Yep.
I
believe
it.
What?
I believe
Wait,
it.
who?
I believe it.
What, Casanito joining Ents, Adam?
Yeah.
That's cap. That's cap.
You're a bet.
Mate, odds on Boris joins them. He needs like Spinks needs to like go. Spinks is going with Vitality, right? And he was just the hardest hitter. I feel like Boris can match like Spinks' aim and everything like that. So I think Boris for sure goes Ents.
I'll
There's
tell
no
you
way
what,
he doesn't.
when I booted up the stream today, I did not expect the word of Casanito going to Ents coming out of Adam's mouth. Honestly,
Adam,
that is
Adam trolling. Adam trolling. There's no
I'm not
way.
trolling.
that
Or
is
am I?
There's
insane.
no way.
That is okay.
We're waiting for the announcement.
Yeah.
I mean, in
happens,
other
fair play.
news, I think Masonic, right, have kind of opened a lot of eyes up the last few months. Have you played much of the Masonic team, the Danes?
I think we did play them on HLTV,
We played him in
actually.
ECL, no? ECL Challenger.
I need to go
Or-
find out. 'cause
No,
I
you
really
played.
them.
I think you played like one win in Tropic, right, in Challenger League. Maybe you played them in
Did we?
relegation, but
Yeah, I
definitely
think
not
it was
in the main season.
relegation we played. them.
Yeah, we played them in relegation in April.
Yeah.
I don't know if they've made changes since then.
Yeah, they have. What was it? Fucking.
Oh, they've made a lot of changes since
Yeah.
then.
It's
Uh,
Cabby and Kragan leaving, right?
And Queenix.
Yeah, I know that new lineup they're going to. It's actually quite good.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
they're
it's quite
going
strong.
over to Ecstatic, which I think is a massive boost in terms of the tier 2 scene. I think for Masonic as a whole, a lot of those players were part-time. So to actually get the opportunity playing full-time, really getting your heads down. And even for Masonic, they're a small org. They're a very small org run by players. So getting some buyout potential from a team like Ecstatic might actually really help on the books. And then, of course, they brought in a couple of players from Atlantic, Ryan, which we've seen, I think, a little bit in one of those Danish LAN events a few months ago of
Yeah.
Unlay and Torsen. They've actually played in a couple of the ESEA events as well. They haven't done that well, but this may be a step up from them. And then Buzz, that was on X-Mad Lions, he goes into that team as well. So a lot of...
Joined.
Yeah, so I was surprised because we both thought, Ryan, that he was a very good player, but out of all of the guys on that team, he would be like the last one to maybe get picked up. And I mean, he's found a home. So this actually could it's obviously a big rebuild. And I don't think they'll be able to get to where they are immediately. This is gonna be a long-term project for sure.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying though, for a lot of these changes and pickups, like the major dreams have basically been crushed. I think
that's true.
Ecstatic last year just missed out as well, right? They played in the qualifiers, got to day 2 a couple of times, and then just didn't make it through. What happens with this Ecstatic side, I don't know. I'm a firm
Manx
believer.
is calling, right?
Yeah, so Manx has moved over to the IGL spot, and the thing that boggles me the most is obviously you don't want to make upgrades to your team all the time. You know, you have to sometimes put yourself backwards to go forwards. But do I see this current team with the firepower that we had before compared to the firepower that we have now on Ecstatic? Do I see them make the same heights? If I'm honest with you, I'm a firm believer that a project that lasts long enough can definitely rise to a top 50, top 40 spot. But I don't see this new Ecstatic side being the same as when we had Wolfie in action and when Bird from Sky was calling. I just don't see that, if I'm honest with you. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree.
Maybe
There's no way.
maybe there's in 6 months to a year when the major in 2023 rolls around, there's a team that is capable of qualifying. But right now, Rio out the window for Masonic and for Ecstatic, and on top of that as well, I would say the qualifiers for the rest of this year, right? The maybe your blast qualifiers and whatnot, that's gone as well. Like your dreams of doing something this year in this circuit with this current lineup is gone. Something long term definitely could work, but I'm right now I'm a firm believer that the old Ecstatic looks better than the new.
Yeah, that's true. But then again, they might be thinking the same way as Masonic, just long term. I mean, one thing that has to be said is they're going back to Danish, right? We saw the
Yes.
Lyngby Vikings were obviously full Danish for a very long time. They then went EU for a bit. They had guys like Fasher in there. Neto Safix was playing. I think Annikes was even in there for a bit. And then obviously we've had this look for the last year and this year too. Now they're full Danish. You wonder, does that just continue onwards? That they've left EU side of Counter-Strike completely?
Don't know. Who knows, mate? Who knows? I think that they have to, right? I think beforehand it was Danish anyway with Wolfie, right? Because he lived in Denmark, and so the big transition
Did he?
for them. Yeah, I think so, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought he was
It was still
Swedish.
English speaking though.
Yeah,
he was like
sorry, you are
American-
right. You
American
are right.
Swedish.
Swedish.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, you are right. Okay, so maybe it's different then because they were speaking English then as well. But I think it would have been a lot better for them to be in native
Yeah.
language. Wolfie was a big opportunity for them, and you can only appreciate the fact that they took it. But again, you've got to wonder at one point or another. Speaking your native language, surely it's got to be a lot easier than English, especially with Zello as well, right? A new change up, and we saw how much they struggled with. So yeah, maybe going back to Danish is going to be a good thing for them as well.
Yeah, funny enough, I actually saw Quicks, HNS, BQ, and Wolfie playing together in Little Mix, so that might be where Wolfie goes next. Unless he goes back to NA, if he wants to do that, hang around EU for another offer, see what's cooking up. I mean, another Nordic team is obviously Skate X. Immediately when I saw this, I thought it was another Pence or a Meows or one of the fucking UK teams trying to take a meme on the name, but it actually is the Skate team. Brand new Norwegian team, finally a rival to 777. What do you reckon, Ryan?
I told you this as soon as it happened, right? I'm very happy that we have in-house competition for 777. I've kind of been like the kings of Norway for a little while now. And this side is kind of like, I don't want to be rude in saying this, I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but the best of the rest, right? Like outside of what we have at 777, this is the best of the rest. And so, I don't know, man. Give it a little while. Maybe this team comes together quite nicely. I think the fact that Skade have taken this opportunity to basically run with a local side, I'm very excited to watch for. Obviously, that consists of Grus, Truth, Lax, Jimbo, Marcelius. We know Grus came in and around 777, played at Royals for a bit as well. Truth did the exact same thing. Marcelius has been in and around the Tier 2 circuit for a little while. Lax and Jimbo as well. I'm not too familiar with these guys as much as I am
They
the
were
others.
on the old 00 prospects before the new version,
I was
weren't
going to
they?
say, they played Season 4 in 00 prospects. So this feels kind of like a 777 mirror, right? Where we have a core of players that have played Counter-Strike to a decent level for a little while, and we're trying to like nurture a little bit of the younger talent. So I'm all for it, man. I think it's going to be pretty exciting to see how well they do. And they're playing in the ESEA Invitational Full Nordic Qualifier right now against Void. So just thought I'd throw that one out there. We'll see how they get on. They played against some, I don't even know how to say that name. It's an unknown Nordic team. But they beat them 16-13. They're currently playing against Skade right now in a best of 3 to qualify. That game still ongoing, as I said. It's Overpass, Ancient, Dust 2. That's all I know right now. So I think that'll actually be a really good test to see how well they do against Void.
What do you guys think about Fates going back to EU again? Has he made his mind up on what team he wants to go to next? We saw him playing in NA with Strife. Seen him play a couple of Epic Lands, a couple of I-Series. Now he's joining back with SC, the Estonians. Have you seen anything from them?
I think we pranked them, didn't we?
I think we did on Inferno, no?
Yeah, I think we absolutely thrashed them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He's been around the world, hasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, maybe time to knuckle back home, Ryan. Give him he was at SC like a few months ago as well, so
He had a
he's
game
back
today.
apparently.
He had a game today as well. I do remember this.
Oh, okay.
He was playing in the CCT circuit thingy.
Yeah, he's playing against Wolsong right now.
Yeah, there you go. So I did
There we
remember
are.
seeing that game go on a little bit. So yeah,
Gosh, it started too.
I think he had one beforehand as well. Like he's just come out of a best of 3. So
Oh, possibly. Yeah.
again, I don't know the game plan for the SC lads. Looking now, they won their game against Paloma.
Our favorite. Yeah, our favorite.
16-5, 16-11. So
Jeez. Okay.
a respectable one. They went 7-8 down on the CT side of Ancient and came back to win the game. Sorry, I was just looking at it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Maybe this SC side can do a little bit of damage. Obviously, it's an Estonian side, full 5. Played in it a little bit before, as you said, Josh, as well. But I think this actually fits in quite well for him. And I think this is going to have to be a home that he sticks with for a little while. Now, especially, he's involved in the CCT circuit. I don't think he's got much else to go to. I would guess that, this is going to be a longer standing team than what we saw maybe in NA with Strife. I don't know, man. But then again, Fates is off to Saudi next week to play for oil money tournaments, So, honestly, who knows what's going on at this point,
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough. Have you guys seen the new look Omega side, which is basically the exact same one that they've just brought back? Love the way they put that in the social post as well, Ryan, trying to hype everyone up that it's a brand new lineup, even though Jo, Ida Spallens, Belchanok are still there, and then Lear is also there. So it's the same core 4. They brought in Foster, who I think was playing at 1win.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Omega were a really good team. And they've got some really good players on them. They've obviously had a very poor year. Are you surprised, Adam, that they bring a lineup back, which is basically exactly the same rather than just rebuilding?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. It's pretty surprising. I don't think they were doing particularly well as well when the team basically folded. I guess the only reason that they went back to it was probably because of a lack of options, I guess. It's the only thing I can think of.
Could be. We'll see how they do in the RMR qualifiers. Because to be fair, Ryan, they actually have like in the past gone to a lot of minors and try to, I mean, I think if the first major in Rio in 2020 would have gone on, I think they would have actually made the major. I think they'd qualified for it.
Yeah, I think I actually remember having that conversation.
Because they got their
with them at
stickers in the
LAN.
game, don't they?
Yeah. So they would have 100% been there, which is a bit of a shame. But I don't know. Maybe they can run it up again. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, the only other big one is obviously Cloud9 getting an academy team. I mean, I think there was mixed emotions about that one because I think a lot of people were hoping that Cloud9 Academy would be a North American-based team. It's not. I guess this only tells me that more academy teams are looking to get into the fold. Has that ever been something that maybe not you've considered, Adam, yourself, but have you ever looked at as saying, like, eventually maybe in the UK scene we could have a top UK team having an academy team?
I suppose it's possible. I don't think it's possible with 5 UK players being on an academy team, a really good team right now, though, just because I think there isn't enough UK players. Like if you were to think about it, if Endpoint were to make an academy team right now, like, and pick 5 players from the UK, realistically, who would be in that team? Like young talents. There isn't that many players. The ones that stick out are the ones from one pin, I guess. But other than that, that's about it. So maybe eventually, I mean, it'd be nice to see. It'd be nice if there was a point where the UK scene was good enough that you could have an academy team that could actually go out and compete against tier 2 teams. But right now, I don't think that's possible.
I think someone did the maths on the one pin side, and they actually qualify to play in the Challenger, not in the Challenger League, in the We Play Academy League. Like
what with the age?
They have because Leaf's 19, Wolfie's like 19. I think 3 of them are 19, right? Like Azuwu, Leaf, Wolfie. They're quite young.
Yeah, they are.
You can have one player over 21 because obviously we saw Flamey play for Navi Junior at one point. So there is exceptions. You can have one player over a certain age. But other than that, like, you are right. There's not enough UK talent. But I do find that interesting that if Endpoint were to bring back an academy side, like, one pin is totally an option, and they do actually qualify for the We Play spot.
Yeah, I think that is the best option out there. Like, UK wise, just one pin, like, by far.
Yeah. All right, maybe something to happen. Are you surprised that, like, it's difficult to find an org right now? Like, I know that this has obviously been a conversation quite a lot. Nart obviously had that UK podcast that came out last week, I think. But do you even for yourselves, right? Do you find it in a difficult position right now to getting signed? Obviously, you're with a team, but for any other teams?
Yeah, I can see where they come from, because I think, especially if you're a new team and you haven't done a lot, then I think it's harder. But if you're like an existing roster, for example, like I don't know, I'd say a top 30 team, top 40 team on HLTV, and that was under an org, and they're not under an org, then I don't think it'd be too hard for them. Obviously you look at teams like Bad News Eagles, who they don't have an org, and everyone knows they should have one. But I'd be very surprised if they didn't have like decent offers on the table and they just want something better. I'd be very surprised if that wasn't the case, because I think they've done a lot to show that they're worth signing. But I don't know. Obviously, only the players will know.
Yeah. I mean, that pretty much wraps it up, Ryan. I don't really have any more changes. I would expect that we're probably going to have some more coming through. I mean, even if the Tier 1 teams start making changes, come out of the player break, we'll probably see some Tier 2 ones get the push up and get that next step and that next opportunity.
Yeah. Anything you lads want to end before we close the show?
No?
Nice. Easy.
Oh, yeah. Ash is bald.
Okay, there we go. Nice. What a way to close it. We'll end it there then, gents. Thank you very much for joining us as always. Obviously, the socials would have been flooded throughout in the bottom left-hand corner anyway. So, yeah, you're more than welcome to go and follow them guys on Twitter. Thank you very much for joining us, gents. It's been a pleasure. And, all right, until next time, that's us done for Tier 2 Talk. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.